Well, medicine is very problem focused, it's reactive in the institutional side of things, and that makes money for insurance companies, big pharma, big implant. And although we still have to react to problems here, we're trying to get to the root cause of that problem and look at the cells and what's going on inside of the cells, because we know a lot about the pathways inside of cells. We've known many of those things a long time, but we're learning more and more, and we can address those things. So instead of putting in, screws and rods in your back for a fusion surgery, maybe we can address the source of the inflammation at the cellular level through the right supplementation, diet, lifestyle, sleep, hot sauna, hormesis, fasting, peptides, maybe something in the regenerative side of things, stem cells, exosomes, all those. And we can look at all those things before we even have to make a cut on your body.
Hi, I'm Yegi. I'm an entrepreneur and success coach who wants it all. Family, luxury, career, and the freedom to do whatever I want, whenever I want. And I'll do whatever it takes to get there. I created the Yegi Project to document my journey and inspire others to do the same. My mission is to change the world by influencing and leading others to do what they love and live fulfilled lives. Hello. Welcome back to the Yegi Project. Today's honored guest is Dr. Jeff Gross, who is the founder of Recelebrate and a pioneer in regenerative stem cell and exosome medicine. With decades of experience transitioning from traditional neurosurgery to advanced cellular therapies. And if you guys also don't know what some of these things mean, we're gonna pick at it, and Dr. Gross is going to go ahead and explain what it actually is in layman's term. But he is the forefront of a major shift, and we've all kind of touched based on PDEs, which are plant-derived exosomes, to optimize human health and longevity. And who doesn't want to focus on longevity, right? As we focus on everything else, we got, the success down, the finances down, everything's good. We cannot fight aging. And I think this is where it's becoming such a hot topic. And he is also focusing on the powerful immune support with these natural exosomes. He is a creator of Longevex. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did.
Okay, awesome. And he is the first widely available product that is built on this science. Now, without further ado, Dr. Jeff Gross, please, in your own words, tell us, who are you and what do you do?
Well, thank you for having me. First of all, my name is Jeff Gross. I'm a bio nerd. As you know, I'm a recovering physician, recovering from, getting myself out of the sick care system, institutionalized, insurance-driven nonsense.
And that's what we like to hear on this podcast.
I put down the Kool-Aid a number of years ago, and I re-engaged a re-education process, retraining, tapped back into some of my undergraduate education in biochemistry, molecular cell biology, which is the field of stem cells and things in that realm. And I now practice regenerative medicine, longevity, cellular health, peptides, stem cells, exosomes, integrative cancer care, all kinds of things, including beauty, wellness, prevention. We cover it all. And I feel like a more comprehensive doctor now. I'm no longer doing, these big brain and spine surgeries. We find things to help
but
people.
What a good foundation to have, right? What a good foundation to have to build on it with a different approach.
Yeah.
Now, how is what you were doing before and what you're doing now different as far as approach to medicine if somebody comes to you for overall health and wellness?
Well, medicine is very problem focused. It's reactive in the institutional side of things. And that makes money for insurance companies, big pharma, big implant, and although we still have to react to problems here, we're trying to get to the root cause of that problem and look at the cells and what's going on inside of the cells. Because we know a lot about the pathways inside of cells. We've known many of those things a long time, but we're learning more and more, and we can address those things. So instead of putting in, screws and rods in your back for a fusion surgery, maybe we can address the source of the inflammation at the cellular level through the right supplementation, diet, lifestyle, sleep, hot sauna, hormesis, fasting, peptides, maybe something in the regenerative side of things, stem cells, exosomes, all those. And we can look at all those things before we even have to make a cut on your body. So that's kind of the
I
new
like the
approach.
sound of that. I like the sound of that already. And I'm sure a lot of people are relieved that there are more options to getting healthy or solving a problem or a pain point on our body than directly going into surgery. And I'm so happy people like you are advancing this field. Now, for our listeners and for myself, can you define some terms for us just in case we're not too clear on what peptides are? So I kind of know what peptides are, but how would you define them and what are the different categories or types?
Yes. Okay. Well, peptides are a group of smallish chains of proteins. So proteins, as you know, we build up in our bodies. They do most of our work. They are receptors, they're enzymes. They handle pathways in our cells. They do all kinds of things. They build muscle fibers. They build all kinds of things. So and proteins are based on stringing together amino acids. Amino acids have nitrogen in them, and there are about 20 that our body needs. And we make some of them. The ones we can't make, we get from our diet, mostly from plants and meat. And those are called essential amino acids. So if you get some protein supplement at your local, health food store, and you want to add some muscle, you're going to build, work out, add some protein. If you look at the ingredients, it probably has, amino acids in it, right? That's the building block. And your body knows what to do with those. Well, it turns out that if you string some together, the body makes these strung together small fragments of proteins called oligopeptides, meaning just a few amino acids, or for short, peptides. They can signal our cells to do desired things, maybe fat loss, maybe muscle gain, maybe slow inflammation, maybe improve skin health, and so much more. And it's a wide open field, and so many are known. And this field has been around since the 80s, and it's gaining popularity now probably because of the GLP medicines, the fat loss
Yeah.
medicines. So
Because I
that's,
think
yeah,
initially it's a little intimidating. For somebody like me, I don't like to take much medicine. I try to do things as natural as possible. So then I hear about peptides. My husband actually does few peptides and he's great results.
yeah,
So then I start thinking, okay, but does it have side effects? What am I
yeah,
injecting into myself? Is
yeah,
there different
no,
forms of taking it? So I think it's just still, since you said it's been around since the 80s, but it still feels like it's new. And a lot of the common, person is not talking about it or doesn't have access to it. Can you break down a little bit? Like, how would you put me at ease if I'm open to it, but I'm
yeah.
hesitant to trying it?
Sure. I would say the following. These are natural. Your body makes almost all of these. The ones they don't make are slightly modified versions of ones you do make. For example, the weight loss, fat loss, GLP-1 medicines are slightly modified because big pharma cannot patent natural body compounds. So why aren't these gaining popularity? One reason is, you don't have big pharma throwing millions and millions of dollars behind the marketing and the studies. So that's the first thing. The second thing is these have much less side effects observationally than big pharma drugs. So if you had an issue you wanted to address, you could take a drug, which is kind of a hammer overwhelming your cell pathways, or you could take a natural signal to help encourage a cell pathway or diminish a cell pathway that you want to influence. This is called cell signaling, and it's how stem cells work, it's how exosomes work, and it's how peptides work. And we want to signal to our cells because that signal as we age becomes less robust, or we lose some of it, or we need extra. So now the injectable side, to get these to work, to get them what we call bioavailable into your system meaningfully, you have to do a little injection like insulin, which, by the way, is a peptide. So that's been around even longer than the 80s, to be fair. And you have to inject it. Otherwise, if you take it orally or through other mechanisms, you really don't get much,
Yeah, your
except, or
body
if you,
just
yeah,
gets rid of
it
a
just
lot of
doesn't
it.
get it. It just doesn't get in. So there are a couple exceptions. There's one called the GHKCU, the copper peptide, which is great internally, but also has topical effects for skin in part. And then the one called BPC-157, very popular body protection compound. It's quite anti-inflammatory and also supports new blood vessel development, healing, is great for the gut. You can take that one orally with some benefit. It's actually made in the gastrointestinal system. That's where it's found. So those are a couple exceptions.
So for me to understand, our bodies to break it down for myself, our bodies normally make these compounds, and we're just boosting them up with the injectables or the best form of taking these peptides to help, as as our bodies slow down as we age. Is that kind of a good way to break it down?
Yes. And age
Okay.
isn't the only reason, but that's a great
Okay.
way to break it down. You could
Okay.
have an issue. You might be having a long COVID or, lack of energy or brain fog or
I
other
see.
things that could have been caused by something other than age. But if you look at age and a lot of these disease processes, the overlapping commonality is inflammatory cell stress, oxidation, cell damage, cell degeneration. And that's why we like to focus on anything that's the opposite of degeneration, regeneration. So
Right.
all these things are regenerative signals.
Awesome. Now, you are the founder of Recelebrate. What is that?
Well, Recelebrate is the name of our practice and our brand, and it means we're celebrating the renewal of your cells. And it's meant to support the idea and the knowledge that you can take action to reverse cellular aging and therefore reverse your own aging biochemically. And it could be as simple as learning how to sleep better for deep sleep and repair, or exercising more strategically, or how to maintain bone density. Maybe you're middle age and you're going through some changes. It might include hormone optimization. It might include supplements. It might include diet. It might include all kinds of things, and peptides and regenerative medicine like stem cells or their exosomes.
And if I understand you correctly, these don't have any side effects or much side effects. Is that correct? Or what? Is there any downside to
Yeah.
trying it?
Peptide, listen, you really need to be clinically guided with peptides. Some of them you can hurt yourself. You can take too much of the GLPs. You could take too much of the muscle gaining, the growth hormone secreting ones.
It needs
And
to
you
be
could,
monitored with
yeah,
the professional.
yeah, you can hurt yourself. So I mean, a lot of people do this on their own, and I love the freedom and the democratization of that. But please be very, very careful and use the clinicians that do peptides like myself or someone like me to at least get some guidance on dosing and how to and where the pitfalls are to be as safe as you can when you do these. But the side effect profile, when they're done right, is extremely low.
Perfect. And that's what I like to hear. Now, my next question is, I like to monitor and track things and changes, right? Very an analytical person. So are there tests? So if I start a certain peptide, are there tests to track my progress?
There could be. There are some lab tests we look at for different types of things. But the best tests, like if we're looking at muscle gaining or fat loss, would be a body composition scale. You get on there, you don't just measure your weight. We want to know your fat percentage, your lean muscle mass percentage, all these things, because that's what we're tracking is a change in body composition, not just a fat loss. You hear about these, oh, I was on, a GLP and I lost fat, but I also lost all my muscle. Well, that's because you weren't taking the right steps potentially. You weren't staying ahead of that. You weren't tracking it. So I agree with you about having objective data that you can follow. And sometimes it's how do you feel? You sprained your ankle, you want to get back on the pickleball court quicker. Sometimes we do a couple weeks of what's called the Wolverine protocol of peptides, and that,
Is it like a supercharge healing?
yes, exactly, exactly. So and you'll know when you feel better. That's an easy endpoint. It's just,
Yeah.
I feel good. I can play pickleball. I'm not suffering. So that's the kind of approach we have. It depends on the person and the goals and the peptides and whatever we're using.
Excellent. Now, what does most people overlook in their pursuit of longevity and healthy aging?
Well, the basics. Most people need to listen to their grandmothers who told them get a full night's rest, eat healthy, real food and not processed and pesticided food, and, exercise. And that's a vague word. We could really dial in on different strategies there. And, think good thoughts and don't have, stress and to
The
relax. All the
basics,
things
like you said,
yeah, I mean,
the
we're all
easy
missing
stuff
that
that
in
is
the
so
modern
hard to
world.
accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, it's all kinds of different little things that could add up, and a lot of those things are free. Yeah, okay, organic food is more expensive, I get you, and good food, but a lot of exercising can be free. You could do it on your own. Yeah, you can join a gym that costs money, of course, but sleeping or learning the techniques to sleep right and to relax, and maybe not watching Netflix until 11 at night and having snacks late at night. I mean, those things are free. You could
Yeah,
do
it's
that for
huge.
free. Yeah,
For me, the sleeping alone makes like a day and night difference with my energy, productivity, like everything. So I
absolutely.
I absolutely agree that the basics need to be met before we can go to level 2
Yeah,
and beyond supercharged with peptides.
exactly.
Now, you mentioned cellular drivers. If I'm not too sure about that term, what is that?
Well, there's so much going on inside of a cell.
Okay.
It's not just a couple mitochondria bouncing up against the nucleus and making a few proteins. There are, millions of processes at any one time, receptor activity, microfilaments. There's a network inside of the cell. There's electrical
Mind blowing.
activity. Yeah, it's incredible. And we can influence those. And the drivers are these signalers, the peptides, the exosomes. Cells communicate with each other. And what we like about when we talk about plant nutrients and plant stem cells and plant exosomes is plants are communicating at the cellular level with us. They're not talking, they're not writing us an email. They are biochemically communicating, influencing the activities within our cells. That's what's going on. So if you could take a cell that's kind of cranky and lazy and inflamed and give it a signal to, hey, get up off the couch and fight inflammation, settle, get back to optimal functioning, you can get more out of your body like a younger person. So it's a move towards youth. It's a longevity play at the cellular level. And that is longevity. That's how you
Yeah,
do it.
it's incredible. It's
Yeah.
incredible. Now, we know, or we heard a lot lately being more talked about how important is decreasing your inflammation and your gut health. So those two things we keep hearing. But what does that actually mean? So first of all, why is inflammation important to decrease? And what are some things we can do to achieve the perfect, inflammation level?
Yeah, no, inflammation is just a single all in collective word for these pathways in your cells. The age accumulation of these biochemicals, of these pathways, your cells are so busy defending against the environment of pesticides, of pollution, of heavy metals in the water, of microplastics, of bad thoughts, everything. They're in defense mode. It's like a person that's constantly anxious. They just can't break that cycle. They're fighting something psychologically. They're defending against it. Well, here the cells are fighting, and that's inflammation. And then the cells can't do what they're supposed to do: make cartilage, make muscle,
They're
generate bone.
busy fighting instead of
Yeah, that's
fixing.
inflammation. So anything you do to reverse that, back to the basics what grandma told you, sleep right, eat right. And if you need the supercharge, we talk about peptides and other things. But we don't want to go to peptides and stem cells and exosomes unless we fix the basic terrain, right? Because
Yeah.
I can throw the incredible amount of fire extinguisher on a fire, but if that fire is raging and the fuel, the gas, fuel is being added, that fire extinguisher is not going to work. We have to, turn off the sources of the fuel first.
Awesome. Now, just for fun to get to know you personally, I'm going to jump back and forth a little bit. If you had a magic wand, what's one thing that you would change in the world without overthinking it?
Wow, that gives me. I tend to
First thing,
overthink.
first thing.
First thing that come to mind, well, I would probably remove all the harmful elements to our bodies. So pesticides, you know,
Magic wand.
corn-fed meat. We should have, grain-fed meat, free range. All the preservatives that we have here in the States that they don't in other countries.
Yeah, our
Whatever they're
cultures,
adding to the water,
diet.
all the electromagnetic fields, high power lines should be buried or insulated so that we don't, if you live near a high power line, you have a higher risk of cancer. And
Why
if you
is
live
that?
because they put off harmful amounts of electromagnetic fields and that your cells move the wrong direction. They move into an inflamed direction. And then if you live near a golf course, the pesticides they use to keep them so beautiful have a high risk of causing Parkinson's disease. So we see that people, I think it's within 50 or 100 yards of a golf course. And I
Interesting.
may be misquoting the actual distance, but have a higher epidemiologic incidence of Parkinson's. So careful, careful, careful. I would remove all that.
Interesting. I love it. Well, yeah, anything we can do to help. All right. Now, we talked about the plant-derived exosomes. Are there different kinds? I know you focus on the plant. Okay, so can you teach us about
Yes,
different? Okay.
happily. So, I stumbled on this a few years ago, but, we use a lot of exosomes from stem cells, donated perinatal at the time of a C-section healthy birth. And we do that for regenerative properties, anti-aging, all kinds of things. Well, I studied that plants also make exosomes, and in their exosomes, which is a vesicle, a small bubble out of the cell, that's how they deliver their phytonutrients. Phytonutrients are the molecules your body needs to do its processes better. Peptides are the signal. The nutrient, is one of the ingredients it needs to that signal to act. So these nutrients might be the kind of things you've heard out there or seen on social media: quercetin, fisetin, spermidine, sulforaphane, resveratrol, all the things you get from berries. This is why fruits and vegetables are healthy, is these specific molecules from nature we've evolved around. Our cells need those. And you can take supplements. You can take a handful of supplements every day to get all those.
Yeah.
Well, we discovered, well, I didn't discover it, but I stumbled upon the research on this, that plants deliver these phytonutrients in exosomes, and exosomes, when those plant ones can survive our digestion, get into our system, survive our bloodstream, and actually deliver to the cell at 4,500 times the cellular delivery that you get from a standard supplement. Because the standard supplement is just the molecule. You lose a lot in digestion. You lose a lot that doesn't get into you. You lose a lot in the bloodstream, and then some of it might get into the cell. So we have curated.
So just to clarify, overall, your traditional vitamins from your study and research, they're not that effective. Is that a good way to put it?
Right.
Okay.
They can be. You have to take a lot of them. Otherwise, you've heard of expensive pee, right? We all have expensive pee from taking all these vitamins. And there's truth to that, because the actual cellular delivery where we need them isn't there. It doesn't make sense biologically. It doesn't happen. It doesn't get there. So again, we're back to bioavailability. That's why you inject peptides, because you want to get them in your system. Well, plant exosomes deliver these phytonutrients, and we curated the organic Italian fruits in the blue zone, where you have people living past 100 at a higher rate. Bunch of citrus fruits, pio and mango. We have a lab in Italy that extracts the exosomes. And that's a very difficult process, and it wasn't available, 20 years ago. But now we can do it at a relative scale. And we brought to market the first ever oral plant exosome regenerative longevity supplement. If you take it, you don't have to take all those things I listed. You don't have to take B vitamins except B12. B12 is not packaged in an exosome. You don't have to take vitamin C. It's in there. Now, you can always take extra C, though. And it has all those phytonutrients I mentioned. So it's one small capsule a day. And the preclinical studies did show all the markers of cell longevity improved. The
Wow.
sirtuin genes were up. The DNA damage was down. And we know that if your cells live longer, the body containing them lives longer. That's us. So we know this is the only longevity supplement. So ask your doctor, what are we doing for longevity, doc? What are you giving me for a supplement? They don't have one until now. And that's why we called it longevity exosomes, Longevex.
So how can we access this product?
We'll give you a link, and you can put it in your show notes if that's okay. We have a
Of
website
course.
where people can get it. Yeah.
Excellent. So is your mission to spread it to, other doctors so everybody can access it
Yeah.
if they're not local? Because I think I read you have practices in California and Nevada, correct?
Right. So we're focusing on my Nevada location presently, but this supplement you can get anywhere. We ship to anywhere in the country, outside the country, where as long as it's not cost prohibitive, we will ship there. We want to get this out and make it available to consumers, to clinicians. It's not something you'll find on Amazon. This is a scientific backed product, and we're developing more exosome nutraceuticals. So this is a longevity one. We're working on one that's more anti-inflammatory driven, and we're working on one for mitochondrial repair. And we have a
Wow.
kids one coming, and we have some veterinary friends who asked us to do a pet formula. So this is I'm a doctor who's now got this kind of side hobby, this side gig and
Not a bad
formulating
side hobby to
exosomes.
have in
Yeah.
today's world.
Yeah, I'm no fun anymore. What do you want to do tonight, honey? Oh, I'm only going to formulate a new exosome product.
Well, yeah, if you can work on the kids one, that'd be amazing because especially young kids, 5 and
Coming.
under, are so.
It's coming. Here are some gummies. You're looking at some samples on my desk.
Oh my gosh,
So
well,
we
I
have
should be one
gummies.
of the first you can send them to. I have 4 kids under
Oh,
5
yeah.
and under, so
My goodness.
I have all the toddler picky eatings.
I think you need those, but mommy needs those. Yeah.
Excellent. Now, again, to clarify, so you were able to figure out how to get the science down to the vitamin form, a pill form that we can take instead of the injectables and get as much benefits for
The plant
longevity currently.
exosomes are, yes, it's a capsule. It's a small daily capsule, one capsule. So, we figured that out. Actually, nature figured it out. I'm just
You
got
packaged
the
it.
right pieces together to make it available. I didn't invent anything. I just did the work to get it to where everyone could do this. You could not eat enough fruit in a day to get the benefits of the capsule. It's something like it takes 70 liters of juice to get a capsule, and it takes bushels and bushels of fruit to get one capsule. Like, that's how concentrated the exosomes are. It's crazy. Yeah.
And we need that much to fight longevity for this specific one we're talking about.
If you want to keep your cells as happy as possible with these phytonutrients and have them live longer, this is the move for you. In addition to sleeping and eating right, and
Of
you still
course,
got to
the
eat.
basics.
You still got to eat some fruit and vegetables. This doesn't replace all your fruit and vegetables. There's no fiber. There's no, probiotics. You mentioned gut health earlier. You still need some servings of fruit and vegetables, of course. But this will help give you a lot of what you've missed from these fruits, and we'll be adding more shortly. We're just trying to make sure that the gummies have the viable exosomes after we produce them. It should be out soon.
Excellent. Now, my question to you, you're very educated, very experienced in this industry. What does your daily routine look like? Not to the T, because I'm sure it varies, but just what does some things for your daily routine that you make sure you don't miss in order to live longer and healthier?
I love this question. So a day with Dr. Jeff is, I get up early, probably before 6. I get myself to the gym most mornings, and it may not be very long. I may do a half-hour heavy workout. I do sometimes just one set of an exercise with a weight, like one set of biceps, but I will do it to failure. I don't do 3 sets of 10 and say, aha, I did them. I do to failure. One set, if I can do 27, 28, it's that last set where you're getting the work done. Mix that up with some Pilates and some yin yoga. I like to do a hot sauna as many times a week as I can find time for it. I like to do at least 20 minutes, 180 degrees at my gym. Of course, here in Las Vegas in the summer, it's pretty darn hot, so I don't always love that. It's not hot enough to get the benefits of that. Then I go home and shower, get ready for work. I usually do some kind of nootropic, maybe coffee with some creatine, calorie-free otherwise, except the creatine, maybe protein. I generally intermittent fast. I don't eat breakfast, but if I do have any calories, they're protein calories. So I'll do 2 scoops of protein in my coffee. I like chocolate protein. So, it's like a little treat in the morning. And sugar-free, of course. And then I work during the morning. I see patients. I do a lot of telehealth. Most of my patients are actually remote. And,
That's
work with
great
my.
to know because a lot of our audience can also access you
Oh, yeah,
through
yeah.
through virtual.
We help a lot of people remotely. We can order labs. We can order imaging. Do a lot. My niche was spine, neurosurgery spine. So I do a lot of joint and spine injections with regenerative biologics. And we have, a facility where we do that. And we have we take people who are looking to avoid a knee replacement, and we give them a single injection and help them reverse back the status of their knee to a more youthful state. And we have I'm not allowed to make claims. We're here educating, but I can show you examples of before and after MRIs where the cartilage has regenerated. I can show you the scientific literature behind this. I didn't invent this. I'm just applying it.
Mind-blowing. Honestly, just technology and science in today's world, that's mind-blowing.
No, it's natural. It's just that it's been so diminished in the popular side of things because of big pharma and the way big
Yeah.
pharma is driving and big implant is driving, FDA regulations and marketing. So again, we're not
So
making
why do
any
you think
claims.
that is changing in today's world? How are we gaining more popularity for natural things compared to being under the influence of big pharma?
Well, medicine got so dummied down to a few presidencies ago with the whole Obamacare thing, and it killed insurance, private insurance. So people are fed up. They get 5 minutes with their doctor. They can talk about maybe one thing. The doctor's busy putting it into a dumb computer system. Like, it's ridiculous. People are unhappy. They're improperly treated or mistreated. They get what big pharma or the insurance company will pay for, not what's best for them. They don't go over all the options. People are fed up. And now we have Robert F. Kennedy, who's more open-minded, and he's helping to bring some of that to light. So that gave it some light. The peptide craze, I think, is also flourished in part because of the success of the GLP fat loss medicines.
Yeah.
They're weight loss, they're advertised as weight loss, but honestly, it's fat, which you need to lose. We don't want to lose anything else.
Yeah.
So, things like that have brought this to the forefront. There's just a bigger appetite for it.
Excellent. All right. So my next question to you, focusing back on getting to know a little bit more about the plant-derived exosomes, what is the technology look like it's going to be shaping to the next decade? As I guess, wait, scratch that. Scratch that. Let me just ask a different question. Okay. Did we go over the evidence that supports the benefits for immune strength, gut health, and overall resilience?
I
You want me
touched
to
on it,
ask
but
you?
we can talk more about
Okay.
it if you like. Yeah.
Okay. So, what evidence supports their benefits for immune strength, gut health, and overall resilience?
We have a study with this formula, the exosome formula, where we showed that cells in animals increase their sirtuin-1 gene activity. And that sirtuin-1 gene is a marker of longevity. So you want to stimulate the sirtuin-1 gene. It's the same gene that's stimulated by what's called resveratrol. You may have heard of from red grapes and red wine, right?
Yeah.
That's in the product because the fruits that we chose, some of them have resveratrol made in exosomes. That's how plants produce it. And it's sad when you go to the store and you buy some resveratrol capsules. That's just the molecule. They actually pulled it out of the best way to deliver it. They pulled it out of the exosomes where they made it synthetically. So we have the actual exosomes extracted. We also show in that study reduced DNA damage marker and other reduced markers. The damage markers are the inflamed, degraded loss of longevity. So we reduce the longevity causers and we increase the longevity seeking molecules and pathways in the cell. So the cells live longer. That's what we want. We want longevity for our cells if we want longevity for us.
Now, a lot of people that are fighting health issues, let's say specifically cancer, how can they take advantage of what you have to offer to have a more natural approach to trying to heal compared to radiation and all that?
Well, whether you are going through something traditional treatment or not, I mean, we know that phytonutrients, fruits and vegetables, eating right helps fight cancer. So Longevex is a strategy you might use to help support your cells in your battle or in your recovery from chemotherapy or something. We also pair that in our clinic with high-dose vitamin C, IV curcumin, which is incredibly anti-inflammatory, and other treatments that are more natural as an integrative approach. We also have some special exosomes for our cancer patients that we sometimes apply called natural killer cell exosomes from the natural killer cell in the immune system. So there are all kinds of options that you can use to, in addition to a traditional treatment or to help support prevention or help support a remission, or even
I
as
see.
an alternative if you just don't, aren't bought into the whole chemotherapy, radiation, which is quite a bit old-fashioned. It does work in the right setting to some degree, but remember the strategy of chemotherapy and radiation is to kill the cancer cells faster than you kill yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. But then you have to regenerate the good stuff.
That's right.
All right. My next question to you is for someone like me who's in the early middle age stage, what are there any, like, I just want to feel young all the time, and that's all of us, of course. But are there any labs, tests? I know
Yeah.
insurance doesn't cover, but What approach can I take? So if I want to be super on top of my health to prevent anything or just to be as healthy as possible, are there any labs, tests I can do to kind of have a good framework of where I'm at and what I need to focus on?
Sure, there are a lot of lab tests. You could spend a lot of money,
Yes,
but
I'm writing a list.
we could keep it simple. I mean, there are a number of inflammatory markers we look at. So if I'm going to send someone just to the regular lab, we're going to look at like the C-reactive protein. We're going to look at an omega-3 index or omega-3 level. We're going to look at, thyroid panels. We're going to look at the lipid profile. We're going to look at, and then if we want to do a biological age test, we might do a glycan age or a DNA test that we can find how much methylation there is, because that's a modifiable thing. We can actually take steps to change our lifestyle and our supplements or interventions
Yeah.
that improve that biological age. It can actually, it's called epigenetic, right? Lifestyle changes and other things that influence the sort of gunking up of your antibodies, which is the glycan age, or the of your DNA, which is the methylation. Those are different markers. We can look at telomere length, right?
What is
And
that?
telomere length, so your DNA strands have these little ends like the shoelaces, and we want them long and healthy. They kind of get short over age, and it's a signal to cells, hey, you're done dividing. Now you're going to become a senescent zombie cell. So you can actually improve the telomere length, which is a marker of cell longevity and health. And there are multiple ways, you can do that. There are supplements, there are lifestyle behaviors, there are peptides.
Oh, yeah. So in today's world, if there's a will, there's a way. I feel like there are tests and answers to a lot if we're on top of ourselves. But for someone like me, if there's nothing really wrong with you and I come to you as a patient, we would start off by those labs just to kind of see where we're at and go from there.
We start out with, hey, you feel great, so you're not here for a problem. Let's dig into what your goals are and how we can work on preventing problems and supporting longevity. We start with some labs. We see what you're interested in or not, because we want to customize it for every individual.
And are these just general? Are these labs are more out of pocket or insurance covers certain things? I'm sure. Well, yeah, you answer that.
It depends on the insurance, of
Yeah.
course, but there are ways to get these at the insurance discount. We know how to get things done. Some of the biological age tests are a little more expensive, a few $100. I mean, we can even do all kinds of high-end testing if needed. It's thousands, and don't do that as a routine. We do it as needed. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, so my last question to you is we all have challenges in life and business. Since this is a personal and business development podcast, we'll start wrapping up. What has been your biggest life or business challenge, and what did you do to overcome it, or what are you currently doing to overcome it?
Well, since we moved into this, we'll call it, cutting edge health and wellness, regenerative medicine practice about 8 years ago, we're struggling to advertise, right? Because we can't make marketing claims because the FDA and big pharma has, their hands on this the way they do. We can't advertise on Google. We can't advertise on
Interesting. I
Instagram.
didn't know
We
that.
can't advertise on Facebook. They will shut it down immediately. If you use, and I've had Instagram accounts shut down over this. So peptide, exosome, stem cell, they don't want to see those words. Why? Because they will cut into big pharma pretty big. So
Wow, this is sad. Man, I hate how controlled it is. Oh,
yeah.
interesting. Okay, well, I'm here to help. Word of mouth is the best way to advertise in this line of work, and there's a good population that wants to be on top of it. So the right
Well,
people will find you.
I must thank you and people that have podcasts because you are free speech, and I want to honor that. What you do, I know it's a lot of work, so thank you for giving an opportunity for things like what we have to get out to people so they can understand they have options. They can make
Yeah.
their own choices. It's somewhat a free country in some ways, so maybe not the free speech side, but in this way, you can have what you need and want in the right setting with informed consent.
Yes, you just have to you just have to find the right information. But again, thank you so much, Dr. Jeff Cross. You've been a pleasure to speak to, and all this information so helpful for everybody to even just, start thinking about as we're aging or as we're, evolving in the medicine world. Again, please let our audience know where can they find you, what's the best way to get more information, and we'll link everything below. But where do you prefer to send the audience to start off?
Thank you so much for this. So you can find us at recelebrate.com. That's RECELLEBRATE. And please follow us on Instagram at recelebrate. We're on all the other channels under that name. If you type in that name, I pretty think we own that word because we made it up. And no one else is using it that I'm aware of. So find us there. If you're interested in Longevex, you can go to recellnutra.com. That's RECELLNUTRA. If you're interested in our exosome skin cream, which we launched last month, it's from the actual perinatal amniotic fluid exosomes. The same reason why a pregnant woman has glowing skin and growing hair. We now have that in a skin cream.
That's so funny you mentioned that, because I was thinking about that question, because in beauty, I mean, we don't want to lose our skin. We don't want to lose our hair as we're aging. Those are like the top two things that are noticeable that make such a big difference in our appearance. And I'm not going to lie, everybody cares about their appearance. You know, there's different versions of beauty, but we all care about our appearance.
Yes.
You mentioned the cream for the skin. Is there something for the hair?
So for hair, we do in the office, we do the human perinatal exosomes micro-injected, and then we might recommend some copper peptide injected into your belly and topically. There are many other things for hair. That's just a start. So, but the skin cream is wonderful. It has to be kept cold. It's, as far as I know, the only refrigerated skin product out there. It's shipped cold on ice, and you ideally buy a few bottles. You put some in the freezer, and the one you're using goes in the refrigerator. And why? It has active biologics, from the stem cell exosomes, and the growth factors and the peptides are in there. And you can find that at exoageless.com. EXO.
And your skin absorbs all of that? It's at that small molecular level?
Correct. The kilodalton size is small enough. So the exosomes are measured in nanometers. So they do get through the outer layer, the epidermis, towards the cells in the dermis where they do their signaling. Back to cell signaling. There we are.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you again. I asked some bonus questions at the end. Thank you for your time. And thank you so much for our listeners for always tuning in. And until next week, bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Please rate and review this podcast. Follow and engage with us on social media under the Yegi Project. And if you're interested in being a guest, email info@theyegiproject.com. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any future episodes.